Oh my! Okay, nice job. Yeah, thanks!
If you're watching this video, you know full well who these characters are. Or these guys. Or these guys. Isn't it crazy that we can just see a silhouette of these characters and instantly know who they are? Sure, you may have grew up with these games, and the image of that character has been branded onto your retina. Or, you may still be playing these games, but for most, these characters are just characters. Or more precisely, a character they just know exists. Movie and TV characters have it easy. Every household has a TV, and will likely have seen so many characters on screen at some point. And so, for example, they may see a Spider-Man shirt while shopping and instantly associate that character with one popular piece of media they saw on TV, and think, yeah, this must be a good gift. But for video game characters, it's a little more complicated. Before we begin, guys, if you like this video, consider subscribing. Even just a like means the world to me. But without further ado, let's move on. Although games are becoming more and more respected as sources of hobbies and entertainment, for the longest time, this hasn't been the case. If you were going to be exposed to a video game character, it was because you were, well, playing a video game. And in the past, the means to access said games were limited, especially if you were a kid, and basically just got what you were given. You knew a video game character because you played a game or watched someone else play it. It was a hobby, not a conventional source of entertainment at the time. So, let's say someone not acquainted with that character was shopping in that same shop earlier with the Spider-Man t-shirt, but let's say this time they saw a Crash Bandicoot shirt. They know it's clearly a character, but they're not familiar with them, so they may brush off this purchase. For a while, this was a big problem for a lot of video game companies. They were making money from their games, sure, but merchandise was always going to be the problem, since the market is so niche and exposure to these games was too small for people in the market looking for gifts or personal purchases. This problem still occurs to an extent in the present day, but to a much lesser degree. In this video, I thought we'd take a look at 3 games as case studies for how franchises overcame this notoriety issue, but at the cost of their original identity, and how their physical games took a backseat and became afterthoughts of the brand, for better or worse.
Okay, nice job. Yeah, thanks!
League of Legends was released by Riot Games in 2009, and is now one of, if not the most popular MOBAs in gaming. But why is that? Well, you know how most modern games are free to play, riddled with microtransactions and have that very mixed live service model. Yeah, well, League had a big part in starting that. At the time, League of Legends took a huge risk and made their game free to play, with the option to purchase skins and cosmetics with real money. A true pioneer of the modern live service formula that was unheard of at the time. For the longest time, League of Legends was relatively unknown outside of the gaming community. It wasn't exactly a game with marketable characters for the general public outside of Hot Topic t-shirts, I guess. But what League had was a monopoly. The free-to-play model of League encouraged many players to pick it up, which led to many players to get involved in the esports scene. This meant more money was being invested and made in the esports industry, launching it into the financial stratosphere that their competitors couldn't barely achieve. All that money had to go somewhere, so Riot Games did something daring again. They started expanding the lore of League of Legends into a full-blown world. It steadily grew into more than just a game. It released stories, music, TV shows. The company expanded its reach to new audiences. When you think of media, what do you think? For me, it's movies, TV, music, games, art, literature. League of Legends expanded its reach to every single one of these forms of media, and it used its mega bankroll to fund quality products adored by many, even those outside the gaming community. So, League managed to hit mainstream audiences. Great, but what did that mean for the game? Well, the game certainly did get more content over the years, in the form of more skins and characters, to then make more skins, for which funds more characters. Do you see where I'm going with this? The gameplay has barely changed since the company came out nearly 15 years ago. It's using the same map still, with slight variations within the patches. Sure, there's new game mechanics, but the core gameplay loop is the exact same. That's not necessarily a problem, but the game feels very much like a farm. A farm which hooks players in through their live service model, who then get addicted, who then buy skins for their favourite characters since everyone else does it like lemmings. And the cycle continues, like hamsters in a wheel playing the same game over and over again. The game has become a farm for Riot Games, churning out a consistent revenue stream, allowing them to expand their franchise even more to then grab more innocent players and repeat the cycle. Their game is no longer the priority. It is now a cesspool of salty players who all want to be free. It's known as the most salty fanbase in gaming for a reason. Let it be known that I actually do like League of Legends. I was addicted for many years. although in recent years I have taken a significant break from the game. But that's only because I've been replaced by other addictions. I was almost late for one of my A-level exams because I stupidly queued for a ranked match and I was too afraid to leave the game because I was that invested in the ranked system. In summary, I do think League is very smart for all of its decisions, and I can in no way fault the company for taking the franchise the way they did. In fact, I'd argue that it's a very enjoyable franchise with all the high quality media it produces. I just think it's a massive shame that the game's purpose is literally to just farm other projects, and the only other content that gets put into it is just content that retains engagement to then fuel more wallet farming. And with that, we'll move on to our next case study. A game franchise that's a personal guilty pleasure of mine.
Okay, nice job. Yeah, thanks!
Sonic the Hedgehog! Oh sorry, I should say Ogilvy Maurice the Hedgehog. That's his real name, by the way. Like seriously, Sonic and Tails have a real name. But then we have Knuckles. Imagine looking at your newborn kid and seeing it has the exact same pointed knuckles as the rest of your species and just going for it. It's like if one of us called our kid Ballsack. Wait, hang on. They could have named him something not far off. So, Ogilvy was once a powerful gaming mascot designed to rival Mario. And sure enough he did. For a little bit. Right, you have classic Sonic and modern Sonic. Classic referring to the old rubber hose looking 2D platforming version of Sonic, and modern referring to its present day somewhat edgy stuck in the 2000s type incarnation as a 3D platformer. People don't really talk about this much, but the classic era only lasted from 1991 till 1998, just 7 years. Modern Sonic has been around for 26 years, and in that time it's evolved into something not too dissimilar to League of Legends' multimedia franchise. But unlike League, Sonic does consistently pump out new games quite frequently, but to very varying degrees of quality. The games are constantly edged into being good, but never quite there due to deadlines. Hell, even the most panned and controversial game of all time, branded the worst game ever created, was Sonic 06. How can a franchise so successful pump out so many garbage games without them cutting their losses and moving on? Well, that's where its parallels to League come in. Sonic has had a very strange jump from games to multimedia, in the sense that every incarnation we see of him is very much just him being flung at the wall like shit and seeing what stuck, a lot like League. He's had TV shows, comics, movies, toys, even curry. His reach has gone quite far. He's even sang the American national anthem with Luffy One Piece. His iconic character design has been a massive selling point for the franchise, and don't even get me started on the DeviantArt original character fandom. They literally included a custom character creation in Sonic Forces for this very demographic. I swear, I was like one bad link away from being a DeviantArt furry when I was a kid. I don't know how I dodged that, being the massive Sonic fan I am. Why would McDonald's give me 6 Chaos Emeralds? Don't they know there's 7? But yeah. His design has reached TV screens, bookstore shelves, even the big screen. He's had such naturally hooking presence, so when you see a Sonic game on the shelf you think, oh, it's that famous Fast Hedgehog, that looks fun. That might make a good gift for something. That's what happened with me. My first introduction to Sonic was my granddad noticing me randomly barely watching an episode of Sonic X on Jetix. Anyone else remember Jetix? And then bought me Sonic 06 for my birthday because it had that cool funny blue cat that I apparently liked. My main point here is that Sonic's natural appeal to general audiences, thanks to its charismatic image, has caused Sega to focus their efforts into their events, animation, movies, all that jazz. But the games have taken a backseat in the sense that they just become an obligatory creation or advertisements for their upcoming projects. Take Sonic Boom and the upcoming Sonic X Shadow Generations game. Don't type that into Google. Sonic Boom was just shovelware for the Wii U designed to tie into the newly releasing TV series, and the game was infamous. And the new Sonic and Shadow game is releasing right before the third movie set to come out featuring said sexy black beast. It's mainly the Sonic fans that cry about the poor game quality, but that's actually a very important point. Sonic is literally carried by its fans at this point. Hell, even one of the main Sonic comic artists, Tyson Hess, started as a Sonic fan creator. The guy whose Sonic content started off like this.
Jesus, I don't have your stuff, man! Don't hurt me!
Oh, my mistake.
Everyone who works on these games genuinely does care about the franchise, which is a shame, because if you saw some of the Sonic content outside of the game, you'd be amazed at the quality of it. The awesome designs, music, animations, stories and lore, you'd think it'd have some of the best games ever made. Everyone works at full throttle to make quality content, but every game gets edged every single time. In summary, Sonic suffers from a lack of commitment to its game's development time, and the games often get delegated to being the Christmas release product due to being easily recognisable and an attractive product at the surface level. Or they end up just being glorified advertisements for their upcoming projects. It's such a shame the games have such talented and dedicated people working on them, only to be let down by being just products to the company and not the art it desperately wants to be.
Okay, nice job. Yeah, thanks!
So, we've looked at League of Legends, the game taped together with Gorilla Tape to be a revenue farm for the additional media and audience reach. We've looked at Sonic in a similar position, whereby the game's opportunities to be great are held back by Sega, delegating them to be cash grabs and glorified advertisements for their other products. Like seriously, as I'm recording this, Sega has just released this. Like, a Shadow Motorbike, I don't care, just make a good game, don't spend millions on this shit. But what about a game franchise that's appeal became too mainstream that its games couldn't physically keep up with its own success? We're not just about to talk about a video game here. We're about to talk about the biggest media franchise of all time. Power Pokemon. It's bigger than Michael Rodent, Cosmic Scuffles and Hello Kitty? Why is that the second highest? Anyway, Pokemon started out as a quaint little game on the Game Boy, which was insanely popular, so Nintendo decided to pump out a card game, which was also insanely popular, so Nintendo decided to then pump out an anime, which almost killed 12,000 children. Nintendo struck gold 3 times in a row in short succession with Pokemon, so much so that it infected the Western world. Pokemania occurred between 1998 and 2000, where the Western world got their first hands on Pokemon and you know the rest. I remember even my dad had a locked up shiny Mew card in his safe and I couldn't sleep well for an entire year because I thought people were going to break in to steal it. There really isn't much to say about Pokemon's evolution into multimedia. It was simply a successful franchise that struck gold over and over again, and it had insanely good marketing. For the longest time, Pokemon games maintained an overwhelmingly positive track record for being outstanding products with amazing quality, bringing in new Pokemon with each game right for the world to eat right up. However, games in general started to evolve. They became more realistic, jumped to 3D, and some evolved by using new technology. Pokemon was always a simple game at its core, but as it tried to keep up with the modern gaming landscape, it fell a little short. The 3D entries on the 3DS were solid, however it wasn't as if they could reuse their 2D assets from their previous games, so the upkeep to keep producing games to the quality and quantity Nintendo expected became more and more difficult. The technology became more advanced and newer expectations became necessary to meet, so it became more and more noticeable that the Pokemon games were struggling to evolve and keep up with its own success. But let's discuss why that was so stressful for them. Pokemon currently sits at $140 billion in revenue, and $27 billion of that comes from video games, leaving a whopping $113 billion down to sales from merch, anime and whatever the hell this was. To put that into perspective, that figure alone trumps any other franchise's revenue from their entire revenue streams. That's a lot of pressure on the Pokemon game team to churn out new games and new Pokemon, which further puts strain on them to evolve and meet today's standards of game. The games fall into similar pitfalls as Sonic did, where the company wants to churn out more games and more frequently to fuel their other projects, and the games suffer because it can't keep up. Pokemon games have massively dropped in quality over the years, but I do think that's more so the technical limitations of Nintendo's hardware and the challenges of jumping to 3D. After all, they do have to model 1025 different Pokemon and counting for each game, on top of all the other assets. It would be very unfair of me to slam the games for technical limitation, but some of that can be chalked up to Nintendo's inability to give the devs breathing room. But hey, Nintendo's got to fund Chris Pratt's career somehow. In summary, I do think that the value Pokemon has brought to the world has been extraordinarily positive, so this discussion was in no way meant to slam the franchise at all, merely to comment on its situation that bears similarities to the other franchises mentioned, albeit from the angle of the franchise being too good, well, for its own good.
Okay, nice job. Yeah, thanks!
I just want to make it very clear that I absolutely love the 3 game franchises mentioned today, although one more than others. 7! You should in no way feel bad about liking a game, even though it's bad. After all, I'm one to talk, one of my favourite games is labelled the worst game ever created. You can take whatever enjoyment you want out of anything regardless of its quality, but I just wanted to discuss the different ways companies treat their games in relation to their other content from said franchises. We had League of Legends, the game that became a revenue farm, surviving thanks to its iron lung of dedicated players and fresh characters, fueling some very high quality ambitious projects. We have Sonic the Hedgehog, the franchise that was edged by its own company into having good games over and over again, only for it to be treated as a means to easy revenue rather than the art its creators so desperately want it to be. Then finally we have Pokemon, the franchise that became too popular too quickly and is struggling to keep up its game quality with the current gaming standards due to the overwhelming weight of their expectations. Once again guys, thank you so much for watching, and please don't be afraid to comment down below about any of your own takes on these franchises or any other games you think you've ran into similar pitfalls. I love talking with you all, so please, if you enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing. You can easily just unsubscribe later if you don't like my content. Well, thanks again guys, and bye!